This video will be discussing the top 10 songs on Billboard's Mainstream Rock Chart, ending with the week of January 27th, 2018. Welcome to Billboard Gets Rocked. There were a few surprises when I looked at this month's top 10 when looking back from a month ago. There's a new #1 song, I got 7 out of my 10 predictions correct, and there's a new song in the top 3 that jumped up after a huge spike in airplay. So with that being said, let's look at the top 10 songs in the US that have been getting the most attention. Number 10, The Sky is a Neighborhood by Foo Fighters. Looking at how long The Sky is a Neighborhood has been on the top 10 and that it was #1 last month, it is a little surprising that it dropped all the way to the number 10 spot in 4 weeks. I stand by that I think it's a solid track, but it definitely has lasted as long as it could in the top 10, especially with so many other songs rising very quickly that sound significantly different from the jam band sound Foo Fighters have. After 13 weeks on the chart and hitting #1, you can't really say The Sky is a Neighborhood didn't leave an impression. For radio to play a song that is a bit longer with a slow build is getting rare, but obviously Foo Fighters are going to be a safe bet for radio play. Will we see another song from Concrete and Gold in the top 10? Probably not. I feel like Run and The Sky is a Neighborhood are the gems from Concrete and Gold, and even though the Foo Fighters have a huge arena tour going on through 2018, I still don't see any other songs from Concrete and Gold really coming up into the top 10 after The Sky is a Neighborhood, and I also think that the song has had its time on this list, so we probably won't see it next month. Number 9, Spit Out the Bone by Metallica. Yes! Finally! Why has this taken so long? I said well over a year ago that Hardwired to Self-Destruct was the best album, not including stuff like Garage Inc., that Metallica had made since the Black Album. This song, Spit Out the Bone, was the crowning glory. Sirius XM stations were playing it, but most FM would only play the title track or Atlas Rise. But that might be for the best because now this album will get more shelf life and support because Spit Out the Bone is fantastic. This is what Metallica should be known for. Long bridges and riffs that really sink in. James Hetfield sounds on point, especially in the chorus. Kirk Hammett, although not really responsible for writing any of the guitar work and riffs on this song, still nails it here. It's an amazing album ender, and it works really well on radio, even for non-metalheads and those who are Type B Metallica fans who refuse to acknowledge that anything done by the band after the 80s is good. The song has been on the chart for 11 weeks, and now that it's in the top 10, I'm willing to bet it'll stay for a while. Is Metallica mainstream? Yes. They transcend mainstream, in fact. But when it comes to what should be known on the radio to help get eyes on current metal, this is great. I do think Spit Out the Bone will be in the top 10 next month, and I'm hoping it'll be in the top 5. This is the type of song that will attract a mainstream audience even past rock and metal, as well as attract younger listeners and get them into metal without scaring them with all the screaming. And after many years, it feels very odd to say, this new Metallica song is awesome. Number 8, Safari Song by Greta Van Fleet. I knew that Greta Van Fleet would be back in the top 10 after Highway Tune. I said before that the young kids have talent, and while I don't like Safari Song as much as Highway Tune, I still think Safari Song shows off the band's skill well, while furthering the belief that these are the illegitimate children of Robert Plant. Greta Van Fleet are going to be hitting the road even more this year, including all the big rock festivals, and a track like Safari Song will help push people who are on the fence to give the band a chance, if they weren't already sold by the first single which went #1. After 14 weeks on Billboard Mainstream Rock Chart, and already at number 8, I think it's safe to say this song could get to #1 also. As for the song itself, I feel this is where the guitar licks are able to stand out a little more on their own. Now that people are all too familiar with how this band is Led Zepp Jr., I feel like people can appreciate a few more qualities in the group. I totally get that the band is not for everyone, but it would be grossly unfair to say that there isn't any talent here. It would also be very short-sighted of anyone to say that they didn't understand how listeners could get hooked. This song actually has potential to go to #1 because radio loves a hot new band like this, and they're young, which also has appeal. So get used to that because radio loves that type of stuff. And it's going to be on the top 10 next month for sure. And also get used to those Led Zeppelin comparisons, not just from me, but from just about everyone who's heard the band so far, because they're not going away anytime soon. Number 7, RX by Theory. And now we go into a song that just will not go away. RX Medicate is still in the top 10, although mercifully it's starting to sink after an extremely successful and long reign at the top. 25 weeks on the chart, and many of those weeks at number 1. 25 weeks of Why Oh Why Does God Hate Me? I know I must sound like a broken record at this point, but I knew radio would play this into the ground as soon as I heard it.
I am so freaking bored, nothing to do today. I guess I'll sit around and medicate.
I feel like whatever music gods of mainstream rock will finally be shining some light now and bringing in more new music into the top 10, meaning that this song will no longer be on the top 10 next month. I usually don't like getting my hopes up, but for some reason I think the universe has gotten freaking bored of hearing Medicates repeatedly for months on end. I get that a lot of people relate to this song and the meaning behind it, but 25 weeks is enough. I don't even think it should have reigned at number 1 for so long. But edgy teenagers love songs about drugs. Thanks, radio. Number 6, Novocaine by 10 Years. Novocaine leaving the top 10 was one of my incorrect predictions from last month. I like the song and I like 10 Years, but with other music coming up and Novocaine already being on the chart for over 20 weeks, I thought its time in the top 10 would be very limited. But this song is definitely one I'm okay with being wrong about because I think it fits radio rock fine, even with the creepy little kid chorus. 10 Years is a band I feel is overlooked quite a bit by larger audiences, and it's a shame. As years have gone on, they haven't really shown signs of weakening. I've listened to more of How to Live as Ghosts, and I like it. Novocaine gets in your head, no pun intended, and it's in the verses and rhythm that really stick with you. Do I think it'll continue to stay in the top 10 a month from now? No. I could be wrong again, and that's fine, but I'm going to stay with my prediction this time like I had last month. I don't think Novocaine will be on the top 10 next month. There's just so many other songs coming up. And I like the song fine, but I think Novocaine will finally wear off of the top 10. Wow, these puns are terrible this video. I am so sorry. Number 5, Trouble by Five Finger Death Punch. I was wrong about Novocaine last month, but I was right on the money with Trouble. I knew it would gain steam because the die-hard Five Finger Death Punch fans love it, and radio has no issue with it as it is the most standard boilerplate hard rock song imaginable. It's not pushing the envelope, but it sounds angry. It's also a proven method for the band because Trouble sounds like almost every other song that the band has made for 5 years. Well, when you don't include the many covers the band does.
I don't look for trouble. Trouble looks for me.
This is mainstream radio rock in its almost stereotypical form. I really don't think it's a bad song, and it's better than some of the past stuff a couple years ago like the song Jekyll and Hyde, but we've heard this track many other times from Five Finger Death Punch. It's coasting in neutral. That being said, coasting in neutral is definitely enough to keep you in Billboard's Mainstream Rock Chart, and especially in the top 10 if you have name value and radio likes the message you're sending, because they send that message out all the time with mainstream rock songs that do this over and over again. It'll be here next month. Number 4, Born for Greatness by Papa Roach. Another new song I get to talk about that wasn't on the top 10 last month is Born for Greatness from Papa Roach. This is the third single from the band's album Crooked Teeth, and at 11 weeks on the chart, that song jumped up quickly, especially in the past month where it has now peaked at number 4. If you've turned on an FM rock station in the last few weeks, chances are you've heard this song.
Aimless, we're not faceless, we were born for greatness.
As for the track itself, yeah, I don't really have much to say. The weird synth, almost dubstep-affected chorus breakdown really takes you out of the song. It relies on that feedback and Jacoby on the front end really trying to lay something down, but it gets repetitive fast. The oh-oh sound also gives it a weird alt-pop dance feel like Imagine Dragons would use, but it's mixed in the middle of a rock song until it drops back into that rough breakdown that kind of stalls everything. Definitely not the worst song to ever make the top 10, but it also doesn't feel like it should be at number 4 for a chart measuring what's getting the most airtime in the US. It just doesn't flow that well, and when you throw it between other mainstream rock songs, it really stands out in an odd way. For how fast Born for Greatness climbed in the past month, and how high it's charted right now, I think it's safe to say that it's going to be in the top 10 next month also. I mean, it gained a lot of airtime very quickly. And speaking of getting a lot of airtime very quickly... Number 3, Waking Lions by Pop Evil. Waking Lions by Pop Evil has blown up. I honestly will never forget the repeated line in the chorus song as long as I live now, because how much SiriusXM is blasting the song on what feels like a 30-minute rotation. Pop Evil's new self-titled album comes out this month, and wow did they get their new music out there with Waking Lions, going from being introduced normally to spammed everywhere. This is another rare song that's in the mainstream where I like the verses and build up much more than the chorus. The song is solid, and I feel it's a smart choice for a single, but wow, does that line of "Waking the Lions in me" being repeated over a dozen times really beat you over the head after a while. It's almost to the point of being a catchphrase for the band. After only 12 weeks on the chart, it started climbing very quickly 3 weeks ago and now has peaked at number 3. Keep that in mind with the fact that the new album isn't even out yet. Pop Evil has that standard no-gimmick radio rock vibe, and it works for them. It's nice to see a band who isn't a household name get pushed in so many markets so quickly. It's kind of refreshing. It'll be in the top 10 next month for sure, or at least I predict it will. And also, "Waking the Lions in me" is a line that I will never ever forget. It is permanently embedded in my brain now. Yikes. Number 2, Betray and Degrade by Seether. Seether has had an extremely strong performance on the top 10 of the Mainstream Rock Chart with Betray and Degrade, which has now been on the chart for 23 weeks as of the time this video is being made. Now with Seether adding more tour dates to their already massive touring schedule from last year, it feels like the band is truly trying to make a huge push and be a bigger name than they ever have been. I said months ago when I reviewed Poison the Paris that while it did have the typical Seether sound in some songs, there were others that really helped them sound a little more varied and different. It was a step forward from the past few albums, and as for the songs now feeling like they are getting played to death, yeah, I'm starting to feel it with Betray and Degrade because of its time on the chart and how high it's been staying near the top. Is it going to stay in the top 10 a month from now? Yes, I predict it will. But I also think it'll start to decline after this month, so it won't be as such a high spot, or at least that's what I predict. Again, it's just my opinion and my foresight. But it's safe to say, after 23 weeks, Betray and Degrade has had a huge run. It might get replaced by another Seether song eventually from the same album, Poison the Parish, but I still feel that Seether did really well with this song and how much it was played. Number 1, I Only Lie When I Love You by Royal Blood. Radio loves Royal Blood. Get used to it. I Only Lie When I Love You is a song that's easy to play as it's fairly short and quite literally has the identity of this two-piece rock band dripping all over it. I don't want to say it's a gimmick because it really is two men playing rock and roll, but there are many other bands getting attention like this now, and Royal Blood are at the top of that group. 14 weeks in, and the song is now at number 1. Hard to say how long it'll stay at the top of mainstream rock, but this is not the first number 1 song Royal Blood has had, including from the same album How Did We Get So Dark. So taking that into consideration, this song will be around for a bit longer. Another month for sure. I want to hear more of what Royal Blood can do. I've seen the band live and they are great, but I want to hear them push their own boundaries next. If they can do that, then there is no limit to where these two Brits can go. In the meantime, we have the style that they do best sitting at the top of the charts. As this is another new number 1 I get to talk about, I'm fine with it, and I'm also very curious to see what will be the next number 1. I think this song will stay on the top 10, but I don't think it'll be number 1 a month from now. And I'm very curious to see what will be, because there is a ton of music rising very quickly on the Billboard Mainstream Rock Chart, and there's a ton of big name albums coming out in March, so it's only a matter of time. But until then, here are two British rock guys sitting on their respective thrones at number 1. And that was a look at the top 10 songs on Billboard's Mainstream Rock Chart for January 2018. What was your favorite song on the top 10? Leave a comment below and let people know what you think. Please subscribe to help keep up to date with new videos. You can check out my concert photography on Instagram, and you can follow Rocked on Facebook and Twitter.